A big g'day and welcome back to another edition of the RDFNL Footy Show. Yeendy here with you, Tara Murray again. Thanks for joining us as we get ready to launch into round 4 games, and you're pumped?
I am, and it's going to be a little bit strange. We've gone back to having every single game on a Saturday afternoon this round.
That is so bizarre. It does have a little... It makes a challenge because some fans like to get around to a couple of games over the course of the weekend, which I know we saw plenty of people doing that from the Saturday, Sunday last week, but... Anyway, we'll rock and roll to the traditional Saturday afternoon, and the first game we'll take a look at is the Sunbury Kangaroos v Lancefield. Now, earlier on, before the season started, I personally would have thought this wouldn't be a bad game. I'd expect Lancefield to be about 3-0 as opposed to 0-3, and the Sunbury Kangaroos basically below them on the ladder.
Looking at that, I would have probably agreed, but I think Sunbury Kangaroos, even heading into the season, I thought Sunbury Kangaroos would be a better placed side come the long term. Lancefield's obviously had an easier draw in the first few rounds. You had Rockbank, you had Melton Centrals, and you had Wood End Heskett, where the Kangaroos, I would have expected them to be 2-1 because they did play Diggers Rest, but I always thought the Diggers Rest game would be a close one and it'd give us more of an indication where the Kangaroos are at, and they showed they're not that far away. Are
you happy with what you saw of them last week?
I did. There is still a lot of improvement. They have got a lot of new players in the side and they're still gelling. I think their forward line is still a big work in progress. They've obviously got to work on the spread there, but I think obviously Sunbury Kangaroos happy with what I think the coaching panel was happy with what they with what they saw. Obviously not happy with the result, but they sort of know where they're placed, and I think they think they're up there. From
a score perspective for Lancefield, what do you think would be a pass mark for them?
I think competitive. They'd have to be competitive. Obviously they're competitive last week against Melton Centrals. They need to be competitive again. Sunbury does have the ability to blow them out of the water, and if you get someone like a Phil Lobb or a Mitch Farmer on fire, they can kick 4 or 5 goals. Sunbury's problem at the moment is they've only been pretty one-dimensional with Ryan Pretty as their main goal kicker. So I think Lancefield needs to be competitive, and even if they're within 20-30 points, that's a massive result for them, I think.
As we spoke about earlier on in the week as well, the superstar forward line the Kangaroos have been one-dimensional with Ryan Pretty, so this could be the week where they all step up. Speaking of stepping up, we're Broadford playing host to Melton Centrals. Centrals, again, flying under the radar. I know that regardless of the draw, you can only play who you put in front of you, but they could very easily be 3-1 after 4 rounds.
Exactly, and I think they'll take a lot of confidence into this game. They knocked off Lancefield last week, which is the first time since 2015 they've defeated a side other than Rockbank. So Centrals have a lot of confidence. They are still building as a side. You have had a few new players come in. You have got a new coach. But to be 3-1 after 4 rounds, Melton Central would be pretty happy with that. And considering the fact is they could have quite easily been 4-0.
And as we spoke about earlier on in the week, Broadford have been improving on their score front week by week. So this is an opportunity for them to get a few more goals under the belt, sort of playing a team finished in the bottom half of the 6th last year.
It is, and even Broadford might even think they're a chance in this game. You are playing against a side that a lot of people probably say won't play finals at this point. So these are the sides that if Broadford are going to get wins, they need to be really competitive against your lower place sides as the Melton Centrals.
And home ground advantage as well.
It is. That always does help. I think, especially if it gets windy up there as well, playing in those conditions, you do get used to it.
Speaking of home ground advantage, Rockbank will be looking to utilise that as they play host to Wallen in a big game there, and Rockbank, they'll be smarting after last week's disappointing loss to Rupertswood. Against a team at Wallen who's they're on the rise, definitely on the rise as a club.
Definitely on the rise. I think Wallen will go into this game red hot favourites, and I think they will win easy. But the key is for Rockbank to be competitive. They're competitive in round 1, they won in round 2, but round 3 they just struggled. And I think that's probably a little bit of a reality check. It's not going to happen every week. You've just got to make sure you're focused if you are a chance to be even competitive, let alone get the win. So I'm expecting a big win for Wallen, but I think I've seen a better performance from Rockbank than we did last week.
Yep. Totally agree. I think we'll see a much more better performance there from the Rams. Riddle versus Macedon, game on the Highlands FM. This will be one of the games to watch of the round because the two have had a really good rivalry over the years. We're seeing a different Bombers side. We're seeing a Macedon side that's flexing their muscles, but it's a danger game for the Cats.
It is, and I think this could possibly probably be the game of the round. I'm expecting the Cats to get up. They have been really, really good to start the season. Bombers have been a little bit slow as they're getting younger players into the side. I think I read they've probably had at least 10 debutants across the first 2-3 weeks. So that's massive for a club to have that many to start the season. So I'm expecting the Bombers to continue to improve. They did get a win last week, and for a young playing group, win brings confidence. So expecting a good performance from the Bombers, but I think Macedon will still get up.
The Cats will be doing what they can to eradicate some of the demons from their last venture to the Riddles Creek Reserve last year, where they went down in the first semi-final, heartbreaking circumstances. Should be a good contest, and hopefully, I think that's what we sort of need from the young Bombers, and they'll work their way into it. As Romsey versus Diggers Rest a few years ago, this was the match that people wanted to go out and see, and we're starting to see Romsey improve a little bit, but Diggers Rest, they keep going from pillar to post, working beautifully, 3-0.
It is, and I think Diggers Rest is slowly improving each week. They had a really good win round one. They sort of only played one good quarter against Woodhead and Heskett in round two, and they played two really good quarters against Sunbury Kangaroos and a really solid fourth quarter. So Diggers Rest are building. They've still got a couple of players to come back in. I know Paddy Jackson and BJ Kilty played reserves on the weekend, so they're both available for selection for the Diggers Rest. So they are getting stronger, and they have had a few young guys in their side this year, and they're getting a few games under their belt. So I think Diggers Rest will win comfortably. But Romsey, as we've seen, they've been competitive in every game they've played. So they haven't been overawed. They haven't been completely overrun in a whole entire game. They were in it for a half against Wallen. They're in it for 3.5 quarters against Sunbury Kangaroos, and they got the win against Melton Central. So they're not going to be a side that's going to sit there and be smashed, I don't think. Yeah,
can't see it going down that way. And Romsey do have a relatively young lineup as well. As we look to our final game, Rupert's Wood v Woodend Heskett. Woodend Heskett had a forgetful first term last week, where they're fronting up against Rupert Wood's side, has kicked 30 goals on the weekend, so they're going to be hard to stop, especially at home.
It is, and I think the key for Woodend is they need a better start. They had a poor start against Macedon on the weekend. The week before, they had a really poor start against Diggers Rest. So Woodend Heskett needs to start well. If they start well, I think that will hold them in better stead across the game, because once you're behind early on and you do have a side that hasn't had a lot of wins in recent years, you do get down, even unintentionally. It just happens. So I think they need a really good start against the Sharks. As we've said, the Sharks have had two really good performances against sides that are going to be towards the bottom of the ladder. I think they'll be looking for another one of those big wins against Woodend Heskett.
Yeah, especially it might help them at the business end of the season, give them confidence against some of the top six sides in the competition. Tara, thanks so much for joining us this week. We'll be gearing up for Interleague next week, which is going to be absolutely huge, but not going to be bigger than what we're seeing in round 4, because we're going to see some great games on the cards.
Thanks for having me.